What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well today. Welcome back to some Tracked AR. It's been a hot minute since we've checked in on this game. I have been asked about it a couple of times in various videos, and I come back every now and then to see if they've added any new bikes or any new tracks. This time round, I see they've added in a Honda 250 four-stroke, which is really cool. However, this is not the subject of today's video. Instead, what we are going to be doing is, if we go along to bikes here, we go along to MX. And we go to the very end, we have a sidecar. Now, what was really cool, first of all, is it's a TM. Secondly, not too sure how this thing plays. I don't know if it's just going to be, I control the rider sat there. Maybe there's lots of separate controls if we have two riders. One thing that I think I asked for at one point in the dev group, but this is a long time ago, so it's probably not off the back of my suggestion, is one thing that'd be really cool, which I've not seen done in a motocross game, is if you could use these on multiplayer online, and you have one person control the driver, one person control the sidecar passenger. I think that'd be really sick. I don't think there's anything out there exists. I don't think there's even that many sidecar games in total. But we are going to load up a motocross track. We're going to see how this thing rides, and I'm very excited about it. If you've been putting off buying that new MX gear, or you're just looking for some new daily MX related clothing, then head on over to fxrracing.com. Code MXPR_Lins15 at checkout will give you 15% off all motocross and lifestyle products. This code is applicable to the European, Swedish and Norwegian websites, not Canada or the USA. And whilst I've got your attention, you may as well subscribe to the channel. It's just one click of a button and it puts a big old smile on my face. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Oh, isn't it interesting how the smallest decisions can lead to some of the biggest consequences? I decided I'm going to treat myself today. I ordered Domino's. As many of you know, I am a bit of a slut for pizza. I really can't help myself. It's my favourite food of all time. So I had my Domino's, you know, feeling like a full boy, feeling rather large after eating it, and I then proceed to nap for 3 hours. So I've just woken up at 9:30 in the evening, so I'm probably not going to have a normal sleeping pattern again. I'm probably not going to be able to get to sleep too well later tonight, so we'll see how that goes. But God, I was so frustrated seeing I woke up that long. But you know what? When you have food that's bad for you, with that much junk in it, you're bound to crash. I just didn't expect it to go quite that way. Right, so this bike, straight off the bat, it seems like it's got a good amount of power behind it. One thing that I'm trying to establish really is, so you can see my rider on the left, like this is the main thing that I'm controlling. Like if I turn on the left stick, the handlebars turn. If I lean on the right stick, then it's my sidecar passenger and my rider that lean at the same time. One thing that I'm surprised with, I thought that this, my actual driver, I thought he'd be sat down more. Like he stood up as default, and a lot of sidecar action that I watch does tend to, the main ride does seem to sit down a lot of the time. One thing I've noticed so far, I'm not sure if it's a visual bug or if it's actually happening, is I've got combined, well, I say I've got combined brakes on. If I hold down my left trigger, it's meant to do front and back brake. However, the front brake seems to be locking up really easily, and it kind of stays locked up into the corner, which is causing all sorts of weird traction issues. If I just do the rear brake only, it doesn't do it quite as much. And from some of the real life sidecar that I've watched, a lot of it is all done based on turning with the rear of the bike and kind of drifting your way around corners. I will say that from what I've seen in person, because when I used to race fairly often, a lot of the time it would be on the same day would be support races for the British Sidecar Championship, but especially at Canada Heights they do a lot of racing there. And honestly, these boys, I think the guy in the sidecar has a much more difficult job than the guy in the chair, as well as a much more difficult job than a solo motocross rider. These boys have got to be so fit, just constantly stood in a squat the entire time, yeeting themselves from side to side, literally hanging on for dear life around bumps in I would say deep ruts, but the majority of the time when I've ridden with them, it's been it either ends up like a Scalextric track where you've got two super deep ruts from both set of wheels, or it ends up being completely smooth and hard pack and just brushed across where they're just drifting around everywhere. So they don't lead to the most exciting of motocross tracks for us to ride on after the sidecar's been out, but either way, it's still a cool aspect to watch. And I think one of the funniest moments I've seen before, I say funny, no crashes are really funny, but I watched a pair go over a jump, where the jump had a little bit of a kick to it, It was just a single, by the way. It wasn't like a massive jump, and the sidecar passenger actually fell out the back. Not a terrible crash, which is why it's funny. Like, he didn't go flying and hurt himself. He just toppled off the back, and the passenger didn't realise that. Oh, the driver didn't realise, sorry, that the passenger had crashed for an entire straight, and then he looked across and he didn't see him and stopped, and the guy was running up the track behind trying to catch up, and I don't know why, it just absolutely tickled me. It's like one of the funniest sidecar moments I've ever seen. If you are someone that does this, like, massive respect to you. I mean, I'd be interested to know. I see all sorts of comments about, like, Linz, I've got this bike, I have a quad, like this, that, and the other. I don't think I've ever seen anyone mention that they race sidecar. Bit of a niche thing, I know, and from what I've seen, like, I don't know how you get into sidecar at a beginner level, because I've only ever seen it on like a professional / semi-professional level, like part of British Championships rather than like casual stuff like we do solo. But it looks interesting. I mean, I don't think I'd ever be able to survive more than the lap, especially as a passenger. And the bikes are absolute machines. You know, they've got much larger engines than we do. I mean, you kind of have to be able to carry the weight of 2 people and all this extra metal around. But very interesting to know a bit more of the inner workings and how it all goes on. The starts look hella chaotic to me. I can't imagine trying to hang off being a passenger. Say you've got a right-hander as your first turn. Imagine trying to hang off the side as the passenger, and you've got someone else up your inside trying to make a move for the first corner. Like, you know, you think you rub shoulders in motocross, you're literally going to be like literally touching the passenger of another bike. But it is cool. It really, really is. So I don't know how long this has been into the game. So I say it's been a long time since I come in. I used to kind of check back in weekly to see what updates have been added into the dev version, because there's not been like a major game update since, I want to say, May time, I think I saw when I was loading up the game today. But yeah, either way, they got the Honda in here now, 250, which I'll give a go at some point. We've got the sidecar too. So I mean, so far, the only thing that seems a little bit off to me, like, the handling feels like it should do, to be fair. Like, you can't turn super tight. You've got to use the right stick to get the passenger lent off a lot. The like kind of brake gyro in the air doesn't seem to really do anything anymore. So on the solo bikes, if you tap the back brake, you know, it's really effective. The front end will dip down. Doesn't seem to do much at all on this, which I suppose can make sense, having never been a driver or passenger of these bikes before. I'm not sure just how nimble they are in the air. I know you've got to be pretty damn precise on them in terms of taking off and landing. But it kind of feels like I would imagine it would. It's just the traction that's a bit off, which I think is an ongoing thing that they've been kind of tinkering on this game across all motocross bikes, or motocross like themed bikes. I mean, this is a motocross bike plus one, which is, it's like the slip value and how the tyres slip. So once you lose traction, how much grip do you get versus are you just then going to be wheel spinning on the spot for ages? And it feels like once this kind of loses traction at the back and slides out, you then have to fully release the throttle, let the back wheel kind of catch up with itself, and then go again. Otherwise, you're just going to be spinning on the spot and not moving. So that could do with a little bit of tweaking, but it does seem quite good fun. Now, we've not got too many motocross tracks in this game, but in terms of custom ones, big full-scale ones to be going and practicing on, I chose Moreno Valley here, which everyone should have. This isn't a development version only track. Like, this is fully released into the game now. So everyone should have played old Moreno Valley by now. I think it's one of my favourite ones to just load up the game and spin laps on. You know, it's not too difficult at all. You can ride it on each and every bike with no problem at all. There's some fairly decent sized jumps to be getting the old whips going. What I would be interested to see, I'm going to see if I can make myself crash real quick over one of the jumps, because I'm interested to see if both riders fall off, what the animation's like, and bear with me 1 second. Okay, I might be having a little bit of an issue trying to crash here. Let me just like fully send it and see how it goes. Off to the side. I've still not... Is it possible to crash on this, or is like, because I'm struggling to even get the rotation side to side to fall over sideways, and doesn't seem to be letting me lean backwards either. Here we go. Oh, yes, right, we've crashed. Okay, right, sidecar passenger is part of the bike, which, to be fair, is expected. Now, someone said that... Oh, that's the wrong button. That's my camera button. Someone said apparently you can sprint in this now, but I don't know. But I'm pressing every button on my controller here, and unless I just don't have it bound. It sort of doesn't feel like you can sprint. We've got this button, so if I hold triangle, my rider kind of like points his head in the direction of where the bike is, which I think's pretty damn cool. When you're in first person and you do this, your camera does actually switch as well. So it seems like the sidecar passenger is part of the bike, so fair enough. And I imagine this would probably be very, very complex to try and kind of deep into to change and get both riders falling off, both riders making their way back over. But if it's possible or not, I'm not sure. I hope the devs are listening to this. If there is any way of making these sidecars multiplayerable, where you can be one driver, they can be the passenger, or vice versa, I think it would be the most unique feature in any motocross game there's ever been. Now, I don't think I've ever used a properly handling sidecar in any game ever. There was one road racing game I remember I played, like we're talking about PS2 era here, where they had road sidecars, which you could use, but obviously very, very arcadey. I don't think there's been anything on like a simulation type basis that's done this. So if this could get done properly, absolutely huge props to the devs. Like I said, they're the kind of people, they seem to be just putting every possible... What's the word that I'm looking for again? I always forget every single time. They seem to be putting every single discipline that exists into this game. You know, we've got there's like tuk-tuk trucks that you can race, for crying out loud. Like, it's actually crazy. So it's been very, very interesting watching the development of this game. But over the last like year, I can't remember when I've done the first video on this now. It's been a hell of a long time. But it's watching a child grow from young into almost a fully grown adult. Very, very good fun to see, and I'm always appreciative of getting to use these like dev builds and testing things out. And you do always have to take things with a pinch of salt. Like if this was like fully fleshed out and they was happy with it, they would have done like a full Steam release for the public to play as well. So obviously the fact that it's not fully out yet means that they're still tinkering things. You know, that they're always working on things. I've had to actually I've muted the Discord the track they are now, because I was just getting so many pings and notifications like every single day, multiple development updates, which again is cool to see. It doesn't seem like they've burnt themselves out at all, which I was scared they might do at some point. They are still constantly working on their baby as such. One other thing that's cool is as you go around these corners here, you saw like the inside tyre lifts because the ride's not far enough leant over. Is it the same? Not the same here, but you can see again I'm struggling with that front end locking up and not gaining traction again. So pros, very unique, very, very fun. I do like how the bike turns in general. You know, it's quite stiff compared to the motocross bikes as you would expect it to be. It's hard to tell how these things handle ruts because there's not really any properly rutted tracks in this game, like deep ruts to kind of sink yourself into. Be interesting to see if like the passenger tyre does make much of a difference, or if it's coded really so it's solely the left, or the driver on the left and that's it, and on the right is just visual. Love how like when you lean the stick your actual passenger moves more than you do. Really, really cool. Adds to that sense of realism. So I think the only things really that might need working on is the tyre traction, to be fair. Like once you lose the traction and trying to get it back again, like it seems like you're stuck in this loop of just spinning on the spot. Be nice for the gyro to do a little bit more. Like if I'm endoing slightly like I was there, if both riders are leaning back far and you're getting on the throttle, I feel like that front end should still come up a little bit and not dip as far as it does. Same with the brake. You know, if I'm back braking in the air, I feel like I should be dipping down a tiny bit. So a little bit more air maneuverability, not lots, because I am aware that these things probably feel like you're literally jumping tanks. And again, massive shout out to the people that do ride them IRL. And let me know. But how do you boys feel about these? Like, have you? I mean, none of you have used them in game yet because you just don't have the abilities to do so. But if you've ridden one IRL, whether it's driver or passenger, how did you find it? You know, what's some things that people might not know about them? What are the usual size engines? I know you get this is a TM. I know like you get some really big custom engines. What's the ruling on the engines, or is there no ruling? Is it just modify it as much as you want, run what you brung, and hope you brought enough, as a good old saying goes? But that'll do for me. Really, really good fun. I'm glad they keep adding these sort of wacky things for me to try out. If you have enjoyed the video, as always, if you could please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, I'd greatly appreciate it. Have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you're up to. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.